What's up, people? Let me know if you can hear me okay. I apologize for being late. I had to restart my computer because technology is still undefeated in the independent media space. But we are here, baby. We alive. What's up, everybody? Let me know if you can hear me okay. What's up, everybody? Let me know if you can hear me okay. We are live. My apologies for being late. I had to restart my computer because technology is still undefeated, unfortunately. But I hope everyone is doing well. Let me know when you arrive, people. Let me know when you arrive. And if y'all could, just share this. Like this. Make sure everybody knows. We're here. We're going to be answering questions. It's been a while since I've been able to do Mimosa Monday. I just got my actual internet back. I know I've been posting sparingly prior to this because I was reliant on a hotspot, bruh. A hotspot. That's never fun. It's never fun. Like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. God knows the uploading process was hellacious, but we're here finally, back on schedule. I'm sure some of you have noticed already how much we've been posting since I got my stuff back, but who we got in the comment section? What's up, Glory? You said your notifications are on a permanent 2-hour lag. Good God. Yeah, Otis, I'm planning on bringing out one of the cats today. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to bring out. I guess whichever one is most well behaved. No, I did not catch Stevie Wonder dropping the F-bomb. K Study, what's going on? Man, ain't you supposed to be asleep right now? Remember when I told you several months ago that Heat were going to win the East? I mean, I said the same thing. I said basically it's going to come down to whether or not the Bucks have to see the Heat before the conference finals. And if that's the case, then the Heat are going to go to the finals. Because, not for nothing, but I have more faith in Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra as a coach than I have faith in anybody else in the NBA. I've been on the Jimmy Buckets bandwagon forever. Everywhere he left, and they try to blame it on Jimmy, I'd be like, nah, it was their fault. And they were like, what? You're telling me every single team that he left, it was their fault that he left? I'm like, yeah. Because I understand Jimmy Butler's mentality. He's not for the half stepping and the bullshit. Like he's just not about that. And so it's the moment that he got to the Heat, I was like, oh, that's it. Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler in a fantastic young squad with Goran Dragic, and they signed Iggy. It's over. Heat about to win the whole thing. Edmund, he said, "What are my thoughts on Ilhan Omar being linked to ballot harvesting?" That'd be kind of interesting. I don't know. I haven't seen anything about it, but my thing would be, why would she need to ballot harvest? Are you saying that she would be ballot harvesting to favor Joe Biden because she won her race by a landslide, and that's even against the Republican, and that's a blue district, so it was expected that she won her race by a landslide. And then of course we also know that it's a predominantly Somali district as well. So like she wouldn't even need to cheat for her to win her own race. Now if you're saying that she might have cheated on behalf of Joe Biden, like if she was directed by some greater entity, that's a whole different discussion that I would have to look into. Man, I've been left the Knicks case. I had to leave the Knicks, you know why? Because I'm not giving James Dolan none of my energy anymore. Especially after his comments, was it after George Floyd? Like, his comments were bad. They were bad. I'm like, nah, not anymore. I can't deal with this. My brother said yesterday, he said, I'm starting to think the Knicks are a money laundering scheme for drug dealers and mob bosses. He said they never was supposed to be a great organization. They just happened to be good for a few years. It was just to launder money. It's messed up because of how true it sounds. Kitty, you say your Verizon hotspot is sometimes better than Spectrum. I believe that. Verizon in some areas is really good. Like I have AT&T, but I just happen to be in the AT&T area of Miami that is right outside of having fantastic service. Now, I will admit that my hotspot was like decent. Like it's more than what most people would need, right? But obviously, I'm a live streamer and I do my show every day, and I have like multiple shows and interviews and all kinds of stuff to do. And so that I need at least 1,000 megabytes per second of downloading and like 50 uploading, and that's not what I was getting at that time. So that's why it was hard. What you mean disaffected Knicks fans, Glory? Listen, if you don't know anything about New Yorkers, all disgruntled New Yorkers come to Miami and Florida in general anyway. So if anything, this is just the natural conclusion of being a New York Knicks fan. It makes perfect sense. This is New York. Don't worry, I'm sure. Now listen, you ain't never heard of a New Yorker coming down and becoming a Dolphins fan. That's for damn sure. You ain't never gonna see that either. But Jimmy Buckets has always been one of my favorite players. Hell no, man. Otis, you want me to? So hold on, Otis. You want me to place a bet on Miami beating the Lakers when we just saw LeBron James and Rob Pelinka go to the damn commissioner and bitch at them that they weren't getting enough calls? So it went from finally there's actually a team that has a chance to beat the Lakers since LeBron's not getting every call to we're just going to give LeBron 25 free throws a game and then never call anything on him. You think that I'm a bet against a man with that type of power in the NBA? You out of your damn mind. I know sports. I know the NBA and organized sports in general well enough to know you don't bet against the moneymaker. Now, it's not saying the moneymaker can't be beat, but it's usually some weird circumstance that has to happen for the moneymaker to get beat. But once you get that like 1 or 2 rings and you're the one that is making the NBA most of the money, like the storyline is too profitable. And so the moment that you make a request, especially in the bubble where everything is like hyper focused, like dude went from literally getting, cause you know how LeBron is. LeBron will drop to the basket and act like he's trying to get a bucket, but he's really just trying to get a foul call. And because he wasn't getting them, like he didn't know what to do. His shot was because he wasn't getting the foul calls, which a lot of them he didn't deserve to get. And then of course he couldn't hit his mid-range shots because if he's not getting it at the rack, then he can't hit. He makes one phone call in the next game, it was over. I said the moment that phone call was made, I'm like, that's it. The Nuggets can't beat them if because they're it's a young team, and it's the same problem that the Thunder had when they played the Heat in 2012, 2011, where basically all the calls went towards the Heat, and when you're a young team without that type of experience, you get out of rhythm fast when you're not getting any calls going your way. And that was a way that they beat the Thunder. Like they just did not get, the Thunder got no calls. The Heat got every call. And of course, James Harden flickered out, but that's a different discussion. Red Black, what's going on? Pepe. Oh, if you want to know anything about U.S. sports is kind of like U.S. politics and everything else in the United States. It's pretty much a predetermined outcome. But every now and then, you get a Detroit Pistons versus the Lakers where they shut them down, and that wasn't supposed to be the case. And if I recall, if I'm not mistaken, that was the year that the Lakers beat the Kings, and it turned out the Lakers shouldn't even have beaten the Kings because that referee was cheating for the Lakers because he had bet money on them. Was that the year that the Kings beat? No, excuse me. That was the year the Lakers beat Allen Iverson. So they cheated against the Kings to help the Lakers win, and then the referee not only bet money on the Lakers, but also he just despised Allen Iverson. And so even though Allen Iverson was able to pull off that one game by sheer will, it was not like he had no chance. So that's kind of like it's. So once again, it's the same thing. The way that it works in politics is kind of the way it works in sports too. Now, I will give LeBron credit in this regard though, because getting through, so the Blazers kind of like I actually think that would have been a more interesting series if Lillard would have stayed healthy, but he hurt his ankle. And then going to the Rockets and being able to kind of figure them out. But Westbrook did just come off an injury, but that's kind of like, whatever. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Now, I will say that Danwell House stuff that happened where he got caught with the girl, like he was literally the third best player on the team. He had elevated himself to the third best player on the team and then gets kicked out the bubble. Bruh. What the Also, D'Antoni sucks as a coach, so there's that. But Lakers handled them pretty well. And then going up against the Nuggets and then shutting them down the way he did in the closeout game was impressive. So it's not like LeBron doesn't actually deserve to be in the finals this year. He busted his ass. Now, also, I would expect you to be in the finals considering that you have a walking double-double on your team that gets 30 and 10 damn near every game. Anthony Davis is a freak of nature, and he actually should have been the MVP candidate over LeBron, which is kind of weird that anybody was saying that LeBron should have been the MVP. He shouldn't have got any votes. It should have been AD. He led the Lakers in every statistical category except for assists, and he was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. The moment that you have this, if you have a Defensive Player of the Year who also is beating you in every statistical category except for one, in any other season, and on any other team that isn't LeBron's team, that player is the MVP candidate. And you're not even allowed to be discussed as the MVP when you have somebody of that caliber. That's one of the reasons why it took Kobe so long to get an MVP, because that was what Shaq was doing. He was beating him in every statistical category except for assists. Because it's fucking Shaq. You got AD. You got two freaks. And it wasn't even a discussion whether or not Kobe was MVP over Shaq. But for some reason, it ended up being like LeBron was decidedly the MVP of it was just weird. Anyway, is college sports pure? That's a whole different discussion. I'm gonna put it like this. In college football, ESPN literally owns the SEC. As in Alabama, LSU, all that. Now, mind you, the ACC dominates basketball, and it's a moneymaker. the SEC historically has dominated the football realm, but it has recently began changing up, and the ACC basically gets screwed. Like right now, Miami is undefeated, but they're number 8. But there are 2 teams ahead of them that have literally not played a single down. Not a single down. LSU was also ahead of them after they just lost to Mississippi State when they should have never lost to Mississippi State. So like the rankings are biased because ESPN largely influences them, and that's because ESPN has a vested interest in an SEC team being represented in the playoffs and subsequently the national championship. So even college sports is very, very, very biased, especially football. Football more than anything else, because to be frank, ESPN, the SEC, and all the powers that be, they're not going to let the ACC dominate both basketball and football. But you got to remember, basically in the final, I remember one year, maybe a couple of years ago, I think it was the year that we won a national championship at UNC. If I recall, there was, in the Elite 8, there were 6 ACC teams. It was like it was insane. And then, of course, we know that Duke wins. UNC wins, Duke wins, UNC, then like Villanova random. And then you go to, and then Virginia also. I think Virginia won one. Virginia's ACC. And then, of course, you go to football. Clemson keeps winning. FSU got one in the last. Since the playoffs have started, except for, I think, Ohio State, and I can't recall, maybe last year. I think last year was the only of it. No, Clemson won last year, right? I thought Clemson won. So basically it's been either an SEC team or an ACC team to win the national championship. And they keep trying to play ACC like we're weak or some shit. The only outlier was Ohio State, if I recall. Who am I voting for? Man, who am I voting for? I'm waiting to see if Tulsi's going to be a write-in, because it'll probably be Tulsi I'm writing in. If she's not a write-in, I'm not sure I'm going to vote, because I'm looking into a lot of the local candidates, and even though I was able to vote, I was able to find one person that was worth voting for in our last primary. This one coming up, the general election, is just not looking too good. I have to see how, like, the mayoral race is weird. So her name is Levin. Like, she's kind of a neoliberal, but like she won fairly in her race. If I'm being frank, she won fairly. And for the most part, when it comes to national level politics, she kind of is lockstep with all the other bullshit. But Miami local politics is much different than national level politics. So I'm not as concerned with her rhetoric on the national level. So we'll see. I'm going to look more into Levin to see if it's actually worth turning in my ballot. But honestly, out here, I have to go vote in person. I'm like worried that if I vote by mail, then it's going to get taken in and just handed to the Dems, if I'm being frank. So, but I'm not voting for Trump or Biden. That's for damn sure. I'm not voting for Howie Hawkins because he stole his nomination all the same. So I'm not emboldening somebody like Howie for stealing the election from Dario Hunter. If I'm not going to vote for Biden, for just one of the main reasons would be because they stole the election from Bernie and stole it from Tulsi and stole it from Yang. And like in a head-to-head, if everything was all fair, right? If everything was fair, Tulsi probably could have finished top 3. I mean, she ended up finishing top 3 anyway, but she could have finished top 3 in the sense that, like, before we even got to the elections, it would have been, I think, a very close race between her and Yang for top 3. And over time, if she would have been allowed to participate in the debates, and of course, if COVID didn't happen, then she would have. I mean, bro, could you imagine Tulsi being on stage with Bernie and Biden? Oh God, it would have been a massacre. Bring in the forensic squad. Bring in forensics. Bring in NCIS. It would have been over. There is not a single issue in which Bernie is better on as far as his ability to not only just, I mean, there might be a couple of issues where I agree with him more on if he has the time to sit down and write it down and think it out and plan it out. And no. Yeah, that's cool. But on a debate stage is different. And we all know that Bernie has a problem articulating his points clearly. he kind of goes into a stump speech rather than debating, which is the opposite of Tulsi's problem. Tulsi is a damn killer on the debate stage, and she had always planned on taking out Biden and creating separation between herself and Bernie, and that's why they stopped her from being on the debate stage. Part of the reason I think that Bernie dropped out when he did was because, I mean, he was kind of doing the Democratic Party's bidding, and I think that part of it was to keep Tulsi. He did not want Tulsi on the debate stage. He kind of made that clear at some point, like especially on that interview at The View. There's a reason for that, because he knows Tulsi's better than him. He knows that if Tulsi got the same amount of attention that he got, it wouldn't be close. And so I'm not rewarding anyone with my vote. I know some people are deciding to ride in Bernie, but Bernie, if I was planning on riding in Bernie, that shit went out the window whenever he said that Biden will be the most progressive president since FDR. That was insanity. Do you think anyone would primary Biden or Oh, no. The DNC wouldn't allow it. The DNC would not allow it. They're not as kind as the RNC, even though the RNC did tip the scales in favor of Trump during this particular primary. The DNC would never allow someone to come in and primary Biden. However, I don't think that it will be Biden that they would have to primary. You would kind of have to do a restart, because Biden, we all know, isn't going to serve more than one term if he wins, which I don't see happening. But we all know that Biden is going to serve more than one term anyway. So it would be a primary, like a primary again, but it will be against Kamala. But unfortunately, the president, if you're a Democrat and you win the general, then you are in charge of the DNC, and you can appoint someone to be the chairperson of the DNC rather than having the election. And that's what Obama did. Obama appointed Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Of course, that benefited Hillary Clinton, and that's why we saw the results we saw. Prior to that, Howard Dean had gotten elected, and his job was to preserve the Democratic Party and help them succeed. And therefore, he realized that Obama was a better candidate between the two, as far as galvanizing the Democratic base, making sure you could take back the House and the Senate, and then hopefully turning that into legislation. And so Howard Dean knew that. So he, even though the scales were initially tipped for Hillary in the 2008 election, he was like, nah, bro, he's too popular. We can't, you just got to wait. And he handled business there. So it'll be a primary. It won't be a fair one if Biden wins, because he's the one who's going to appoint. I mean, it won't be a fair one anyway, but it will be basically unwinnable. It will be a Kamala. It's actually kind of scary, in my opinion. If Kamala gets, if they win and Kamala ends up running again, which she would, obviously, and of course the DNC will have appointed their person. We all know how unpopular Kamala is. We all know she hasn't done anything to address her past. We all know that Joe Biden should tank her chances of having any meaningful opportunity to win, because it's just Biden's going to be Biden. But they're going to cheat and make sure she wins anyway. Now, if that happens, I don't know what's going to happen in this country. And I did say that it's going to take them 2 more losses. So this one and then probably the next one before the Democrats either disappear into oblivion or they just bro, we can't keep doing this. But funny enough, my biggest fear is that AOC runs in 2020. If I'm being honest, I hope I didn't miss anybody's super chat. Would I ever debate or discuss with Destiny? Yeah, of course. I would have no problem debating Destiny. I actually debated him briefly at the Better Discourse event in Milwaukee. I debated him over election integrity, because for some reason he genuinely believes that there's no such thing as election fraud. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. He genuinely believed that. And it's just hilarious because now all of a sudden Democrats are concerned about election fraud, but it's only because they want to try to blame the Republicans for doing what they've already been doing. Robert Lawrence, thanks for the super chat. Give me 1 second. Robert Lawrence, thanks for the super chat, my friend. Big fan of your work. What are your thoughts on Huey Newton? Have you read his book, Revolutionary Suicide? He's one of my favorite writers. I think Huey Newton is just, I mean, he is what I would like to aspire to be. You know, a healthy combination of him, MLK, and Malcolm X. That's that type of revolutionary thoughts, which is like hold everybody accountable. Don't assume that anybody in a suit is on your side. It doesn't matter who wins office. You got to push them to the right. I largely believe in what the Black Panthers preached. You know, Huey P. Newton was, I mean, he wasn't even just, I mean, he was a revolutionary, but I also think it's important to give him credit as an intellectual because he was an intellectual. And when just, I don't know, that whole generation, they got it, right? They understood. And it sucks that we are seeing like the civil rights movement, the contemporary civil rights movement be co-opted. Now, I don't think that it's being co-opted to the degree that some people think it is though, but it's still co-opted just enough that these Democrats, these neoliberals specifically, feel comfortable with saying Black Lives Matter knowing they don't have to do anything about it. Right? Because they're for some reason under the impression that they're going to win. But it's just funny to me because, no, you're not. Y'all tried to co-opt our movements before. Y'all tried to co-opt our movements and use them against Trump before. It didn't work. I know y'all think because they're, y'all, say her name. Yeah, okay. Y'all don't care about her. So I don't know if y'all saw the video yet, but I really strongly encourage you all to go watch it really quick. Great question, by the way. Thank you very much. But I don't know if y'all saw the video, but I just released a video basically discussing the fact that the reason that Breonna Taylor's killers, her murderers, were let off is because that they were part of a brand new police unit that is there specifically to clear out and gentrify Black neighborhoods with a relatively high crime rate to make way for a new developmental like revitalization project. So at Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend's house, which was 10 miles away, because that's why they ran into her house. Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend's house in that neighborhood in general was one of the first areas where they started doing that. And after some of the people got arrested and some of the houses got destroyed and of course, bulldozed and all that good stuff, the developers bought that land for $1. And here's where it's even more sickening. The federal government is helping to fund the project. So from the top down, you have the federal government funding that project. You have the municipalities making these deals with the developers. You have the gentrification aspect, and then you have a literal ethnic cleansing. You have an ethnic cleansing, bruh. And so, of course, when you have a unit, and this unit was created specifically to facilitate this project. It was a police unit created to exterminate or remove Black people. So whenever the judge said, yeah, the cops were justified. Yeah, he meant that because that was their job. Their job was to go out there and clear out the Black people from that household one way or another. That was their job. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying because like we have open fascism right now. And by the way, I don't want anybody to make the mistake of thinking that like fascism started under Trump. I've been screaming at the top of my lungs about stuff that even just I've personally experienced. And the only reason I was able to get out of it was because of who I am and because of who I know. One of my friends was almost deported back to Brazil because of she had just aged out of DACA. She had just aged out of DACA, got arrested, and they had ICE at the courts waiting for her. And the only reason, there's two reasons she didn't get deported. One, because of she doesn't speak with the Brazilian accent. She does speak Portuguese fluently, but she doesn't speak with a Brazilian accent. And at that point, she had dyed her hair blonde. She had just dyed it blonde. And so they didn't think that she was Brazilian, or at least that they didn't think she was like a Negrino Brazilian, like a indigenous or a black Brazilian. And so the other reason was that because of me knowing an amazing attorney who had worked in that area because of by way of politics, I just knew him through the politics. He was able to actually get into the arraignment before ICE could jump in there and start asking her questions, and was able to get her out of there. So but if God forbid, if she was black or brown and she didn't know anybody, that would have been it. She would have been stuck. She would have been gone with no due process, really, for something that, not that she did, but something that she had allegedly done. You get what I'm saying? So she wasn't even going to go through a trial. It was, even if you are allegedly doing something, we hold everyone else to a higher standard except for the white men and women a lot of times now, who make all the rules. They're the only one. The people who make the rules are the only ones who do not have to adhere to the rules. They don't have to worry about the consequences of breaking those rules. And we're acting like we haven't been living in fascism for a long time. If you look at what happened under the Clinton administration, the Clinton administration was straight fascism. I am more domestically speaking, it was worse for everyone under every marginalized person. Under the Clinton administration than it was under the Bush administration, domestically speaking. Foreign policy obviously put us in a whole ass hole, and then of course we know that the stock market crash in 2007, heading into 2008, and all that good stuff. Yeah, that's true, but that was but wasn't it Clinton who repealed Glass-Steagall? Wasn't it Clinton who repealed Glass-Steagall? So of course, going into the Bush administration, that was going to be the natural conclusion. So, yeah. Hold on, see, we got super chat. Tom Stan, what's going on? Thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. Yang has supported more progressive than Tulsi. AOC has not supported not many at all. AOC will not be able to pass anything in Congress since she's so loved. Whereas Yang can at least try for UBI. I'm not sure if that was a statement or a question, but yeah, the reason that Tulsi has not supported any progressives, there's probably a couple of reasons for that. One, I don't think she wants to hurt them. You have to remember that unfortunately, Tulsi had a target painted on her back, and now, granted, one of the guys, she only endorsed like two people, I think, and one of the guys she endorsed in South Carolina, a black guy, ended up winning his primary race, if I recall, which is dope. But she doesn't want to paint a target on people's back unnecessarily. In South Carolina, Tulsi was ridiculously popular, especially amongst the black community. There were signs everywhere for her, so it was different there. But understand that a lot of these people that Tulsi might have wanted to endorse before, a lot of them were silent on her getting smeared. They didn't speak up for her. They didn't. It's politics. I hate to say it's quid pro quo, but it is. You scratch each other's back a bit, and a lot of those people, as they were clamoring for Bernie's endorsement, they didn't think, well, maybe I might need Yang and Tulsi and Marianne Williamson's endorsement also. Like Shahid at least went after Yang and Williamson's endorsement, but because of whatever personal cultural issues he has with Tulsi, he didn't go after his. But he at least knew, okay, I can't just go after Bernie's endorsement. I have to go after other progressives' endorsements, or at least people who present themselves as progressives. And so I just don't expect him. I don't expect Tulsi to endorse a bunch of people who allowed her to be dragged through the mud. I mean, it's crazy to me because I feel like Tulsi, Marianne Williamson also, especially during the primary, were preaching, love and aloha and peace and leading with that mindset. And they were the ones who were attacked and belittled the most. And I do believe that there was an aspect of sexism attached to that, because they preached that rhetoric. It made people perceive them as being weak, which is ironic because, I mean, for both of those women, really, they're very, very, very successful and have been successful and are very strong in their own right. I mean, if you don't think so, go see Tulsi in a boxing ring or in the cage and then call her weak and see how that turns out for you. Pit Pass, thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you for being you. Oh, I appreciate that. You said, can Kim Iverson still be trusted? I don't know about Iverson between Biden and Trump. Who's better progressive is neither Trump nor Biden. What's funny that you say that, because that's basically how Kim feels. So it's not so yes, Kim falls short on, for example, issues of race when it comes to some things, but when it comes to police brutality, she's actually good. When it comes to foreign policy, there are few independent journalists who are better than her, if any at all, with that level of a platform anyway. When it comes to like holding Biden and Trump accountable, she's good at holding both accountable. And so it's just like any other journalist. You don't have to agree with them all the time, but that doesn't mean necessarily that you can't trust them, because I don't question Kim's motives. I know where her money comes from. Like, it comes from her supporters. Like, she doesn't, so I'm gonna put it like this. Has Kim been invited on a TYT? Has Kim been invited, rest in peace, but was she invited on Michael Brooks' show? Has Kim been invited on The Hill Rising, even though all of them know who she is? I know for a fact that all of them know who she is. Hell, but when The Hill first started, Kim was more popular than they were. When The Hill Rising, I mean. Has she been invited onto any of the neo-progressive shows? I'm not saying The Hill Rising is a neo-progressive show. I'm just saying any of those pop progressive shows, as I like to call them. No, she hasn't. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason Anna never shows her any love. There's a reason that a lot of, because she's very, 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 very objective in her mind. And she's not going to play the sides and play the, you know how that goes. And for just even that by in and of itself, I trust more so. Because I know what her ulterior motive is. Her ulterior motive is, I want to just buck the system as much as I possibly can, in foreign and domestic policy. So, like, I also saw Kim evolve on her Palestine Israel. Like, she put her, so in the Israel Palestine conflict, she was indifferent. I guess she said she could see both sides. But then she went. She got an invite to go to Palestine. She went and came back, and she was like, "Oh nope. There's no two sides. There's no both sides in this. Israel is in the wrong 100%." And she went on into great detail describing how she evolved on that. So it's not like she doesn't evolve or anything like that either. So a person who could easily, because her audience is mixed like mine, and she could easily play the other side. Whereas which we've seen, by the way, a lot of neo-progressives do. But she came back and she completely flipped the script, which was unexpected. And so I think that's evidence that she's acting in good faith, even if you don't always agree with her. I think that we have to really get away from that mindset of when we disagree. And I am a black man. Me and Kim have argued over some of her stances when it comes to very specific instances on race. But that doesn't mean I think that she's not a good actor. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole different thing. That's like, for example, Tim Black, for example, I agree with mostly on everything, right? At least on the surface. Like the way he projects his views. But at the end of the day, I don't consider Tim a good faith actor, because the one thing that we'll disagree on is probably one of the pivotal points of any major election or discussion, where he will flip the script and take the easy way out to gain subscribers. So that's not a good fit. It might seem like, for example, another example, Anna Kasparian, we might agree on some point about race, but it's easy to say Breonna Taylor shouldn't have been shot. It's easy to say George Floyd shouldn't have had his neck set on for 7 minutes. It's not easy to be consistent in that moment where you see Joe Biden or Sean King, right? Like what Sean King did, right? It was, I could never vote for Joe Biden and Kamala. Then there's literally a tweet right next to it that I posted on my Instagram. Yeah, now I'm so proud to vote for Kamala. Oh my God, I can't believe that. Like, because at the most pivotal, they say the right things because you make a lot of good money saying the right things, playing to people's emotions. And then of course they weaponize their fear, the fear that people have when it's time to flip that script. They don't tell them to be principled. They don't organize them. They don't say we need to fight to make sure that we don't have options this shitty again. They just say vote. Because if I tell you that, I'm not responsible for anything that happens next. Go vote. I don't want to have to deal with y'all. Go vote. So we can stay in this perpetual limbo of suffering and systemic failure, so they can keep making money by basically playing off of your emotions and your fears. So and Kim doesn't do that. Kim doesn't fearmonger. Kim doesn't do any of that stuff. But the other ones do. And so even though they may say stuff that you mostly agree with, I'd rather disagree. So like Sagar, for example, I disagree with Sagar, but I trust him in his analysis. It's like, I trust that he's being objective and reasonable from his perspective, because that's what he believes, not because that's what he believes will get him paid and make him more popular. So, great question. Todd Southern, thank you very much for the super chat. Can you explain how and why Harris scares the hell out of indigenous and rural voters? Can I explain how? I mean, I can't speak for the indigenous community, but I would imagine it's because she's been bad. If you've been bad to black people, and they're supposedly your own people, you ain't gonna treat indigenous with any type of respect or dignity. And rural voters, I don't know. I just feel like they just don't like her because rural people are very, very much so like, just be yourself. Like, that's one of the reasons, even though George Bush wasn't himself, but George Bush came off as the everyman's man. And he played that part very well. Trump is successful because they believe that at the end of the day, even though he's a little bit braggadocious, he's definitely a megalomaniac, they believe he's being himself. And so if a person is showing you being themselves, whether it be the worst of themselves or the best of themselves, you have a natural inclination that you can trust them. Kamala, every time she steps onto the microphone, everybody knows she's as fake as a $2 bill. Right? Everybody knows. And I think so there's a natural distrust that breeds and cultivates when you are fake literally every single time you get on camera. There's not a single instance that I can remember over the last couple of years where Kamala's got on camera. I thought, wow, she really feels like that. Oh, except for that time when she said that we should have more jails, more incarceration, less education. I did believe her when she said that. I mean, the woman the other day said that Tupac was the best rapper alive. If you didn't hear that, I'll say it again. The other day, Kamala Harris said that Tupac was the best rapper alive. Now, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there about Tupac's existence. But let's just say, for the sake of the argument, that all those conspiracy theories are wrong, and we're just going to accept things as they are. Tupac is not alive. And I feel like she should know this. But I think that she's going with what she knows, what she thinks people want to hear. And she can't turn it off. Oh, Tom, you said you were comparing AOC to Yang for 2024. I think, man, like, so I get what you're saying. And I understand. So I understand what you're saying now. If you're saying that you were comparing him to Yang, because the comment was kind of like, but now I understand what you're saying. With that, I do believe that AOC has somewhat an advantage over Yang, and the advantage is really that the establishment somewhat needs her. I mean, clearly she needs the establishment too, but because of that symbiotic relationship, they will use her not so that she could win, but they will use her to undermine every other progressive in the race. And if she takes the L, if she loses this race, if she allows the Democrats to cheat her, and then subsequently throw all that weight in popularity that she gained through running for president, then they will allow her to win the next time. It's not like with Bernie. Bernie, they felt like he was a hard-headed old man, and so if they didn't squash him, because Bernie is somewhat of a wild card when it comes to the Democratic establishment. Like when it's time to, he won't defend other people, unfortunately. When it's time to defend himself, he will throw people under the bus. We've seen him do that before. So, and he's done it in the past, right? He's called out Democrats, and he's called out Republicans, and he's called out establishment Dems by name. He calls out corporations that fund the Democrats. AOC is different. AOC looks out for herself and no one but herself. And so that makes her a wild card, but only for progressives. The Democratic establishment, I think, understands exactly what her goals are. And they will tell her, look, if you play ball, we'll let you be the first female president. Or we'll let you be the second female president. But you'll be the youngest, for sure. So, like, Yang, I think, does have a lot of popularity behind him. He has a lot of huge backing. But I definitely saw that there was like this schism within the Yang movement. But maybe it can be repaired if he runs again. I mean, that happens, so. Otis B, appreciate the super chat, my friend. You like Tim Black, but he is fairly new to his. You're fairly new to his channel. When you say he takes the easy way out to gain subscribers, can you elaborate? I subscribed to him after the convention, but I agree with him thus far. So, to make a long story short, Otis, he was firmly in the camp of both Bernie and Tulsi. He loved Bernie and Tulsi. But when he saw other people get a debate or other independent journalists get an interview with Tulsi before he did, he took it personally and began smearing her. He began lying about her healthcare legislation or her impending, at that time, healthcare legislation. He began lying about her motives. He began attacking me because he saw that I was her surrogate and he hadn't been picked up by any campaign at that point. And it bothered him, clearly. He was just jealous. He also attacked Jimmy Dore. All of this was before the end of the primary, but that's because he saw there was a path financially to grow if you just attack anyone standing in Bernie Sanders' way, whether the attacks be legitimate. And then, of course, you never criticize Bernie Sanders. Then you can get a lot of subscribers and make a lot of money and become even more popular. And that's what he did. He actually was never, he and Ben Dixon were on the outs. And then because Ben Dixon's a neo-progressive who uses the same tactics, and the moment that Tim completed his transition into neo-progressivism, he ends up, like, him and Ben are good friends again. So, yeah, like right now, it's easy to just go at Biden and Trump both, like it is. Now, of course, I give him credit for not completely kissing Biden's ass, but it's easy to recognize that Biden and Trump are trash. There's nothing talented about that. There's nothing like impressive about that. If anything, that should be the immediate conclusion everyone who's done any level of research should be able to find. But at the same time, when it mattered the most, he was ignoring and attacking Tulsi and anyone who allied with her. If someone would see, he lied about her legislation. And I told any journalist at that point, if you have any questions about Tulsi's healthcare legislation, feel free to ask me. And I can either get you in contact with Tulsi or I'll answer the question myself, because I was asking her about her legislation. He chose to not ask anybody and instead attack and smear her without doing any research of his own. He couldn't have done any research of his own because Tulsi hadn't released the legislation yet, which is why I told people that they could reach out to me. So he also told people I wasn't black, which is kind of weird because I don't you can't really fake being black. I don't that was weird. It was a really weird moment. I didn't know that he actually said that until somebody sent me the clip of it. Man, you said it, Steve. Grifting progressives 101. Repeat 40-year-old talking points like they're a revelation. Wag the finger at the Democratic establishment. Count cash. You forgot. You wag your finger at the Democratic establishment, and then after they cheat you and the candidate that you support, you don't hold them accountable for that. In fact, you say we have to hold them accountable after the election. Then they lose the election, of course, and then you count the cash, Steve. Then you count the cash. You got to count the cash like in between the general and then that upcoming the upcoming midterm election. Come on, bro, you gotta get it right. I know you ain't been over there in Grifter Town. You said Tulsi treatment by most indie media showed us who they really were. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Because when you're the only candidate up there, other than Mike Gravel, of course, but he wasn't trying to win. But the only candidate up there that called out the CIA, the only candidate up there that actually introduced election integrity legislation, the only candidate up there that calls out the Russiagate scheme for what it is, the only one who spoke up for Bernie whenever the CIA was trying to plant a story about Russiagate that hurt him. The only one who spoke up for Assange and Manning and Snowden. The one who got it right on impeachment. The only one who got it right on impeachment. Which is to abstain, and then she even introduced legislation to say, actually, this is what we should be impeaching him on. She's the only one who got it right. And yet the neo-progressives took every single opportunity to attack her. Why? Because she was the only one who kept getting it right while Bernie kept religiously getting it wrong over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. She didn't just get it right on Bolivia. She knocked it out the park. Straight up said, not, oh, they should be able to have a free and fair election. Kind of, duh. They're a democratic society. Of course they should be able to have a free and fair election. Nobody cares about that shit. I mean, yeah, I care about it, but like, you got to demonstrate some type of understanding of the situation as it is rather than what you want to pretend it is because you don't want to get attacked by the CIA's little mouth puppets on MSNBC and Fox News. Tulsi was the only one who said that the United States should not be interfering in anyone else's elections. Straight like that. Same thing with Venezuela. Same thing with Syria. Called out the goddamn, she called out the false flags. And, well, actually, I guess those wouldn't be considered false flags because they actually didn't happen. But the quote-unquote chemical weapons attacks that happened or really didn't happen in Syria. She was the only one who got that right. No, excuse me, Rand Paul got it right, but she was the only one in the race who got it right. Rand Paul also said that. She called, because of the OPCW leaks, prove this. She was the only one who answered the phone whenever the victims of the 9/11 or the victims' families of 9/11 started a lawsuit because of information that was founded by the University of Alaska. It's a legitimate lawsuit. The facts have not been disproven yet. All they wanted some closure and some justice. Tulsi was the only one who answered the phone. They called all the candidates. These people lost their family members. And 9/11, the event that we're never supposed to forget. The only one, and all of them all tweeted out on September 11th. Oh, never forget, never forget, never forget. All the candidates did. Tulsi was the only one who answered the phone when those victims' families called. That's why they attacked her. Because she forces everyone to adhere to the standard that all of us expect them to adhere to. But we've had a habit of letting 1, 2, or 3 things go because we're like, well, we can't expect them to be perfect. But fucking Tulsi was the only person damn near as close to perfect as it can get. And oh, by the way, she was 37 when she started running. So a lot of people saw her as the competition, as the enemy to their grift. Because to be a Tulsi fan, Tulsi supporters are generally the most educated supporters out there, as far as all the other candidates are concerned. There's not anybody more educated and more well-researched than a Tulsi supporter. This is a fact. It's not my opinion. Because if you've done your thorough research, there is no other logical conclusion to get to other than, damn, Tulsi has to be the president. She's the only one who can handle this. If you've done half of your research and then rely on Twitter talking points, yeah, you would get to Bernie or Yang, maybe even Marianne Williamson. But if you've done all of your research, at least, reasonably, then you would know there was no other option. So, the person who was attacked the most during a primary, the one who was slandered the most during a Democratic primary, that is the best candidate for the race. That's why she was kept off the debate stage. If she was not a threat to anyone, why would they constantly keep her off the debate stage and change the rules so she can't make it? Please explain that to me. Nene B, TYT owns 85% of leftist media. Yeah, that's true. Nah, that's like, they have so many people wrapped up in their network. They got Ben Dixon now. Mike Figueredo's still in their network, even though I still like Mike, me and Michael boys, but I'm just saying. Rational National wants to be a part of TYT network so damn bad that he just kisses their ass while getting no benefit in return. Sam Cedar is still under the TYT umbrella. TYT Nation, what's his name? Something Wardolph, something like that. John or James or Joe Wardolph. Can't remember. Very generic name. But yeah, that is the case. That's to be able to game those algorithms, you gotta be basically on the side of TYT. You gotta agree with them on everything. You said progressive voice is dying again under there. Yeah, I know, but you gotta at least pretend like you know what you're talking about outside of just talking shit about drama. Oh, Sam Cedar left TYT a couple of months ago? That's interesting. I didn't know that. David Doe should focus on Canada. Yeah, he really should, because that boy don't know shit about United States politics. I remember he tried to argue with Ron Placone on Jimmy Dore's show about whether or not we should be voting for Joe Biden, like if he was a nominee. He's like, oh yeah, 100%. Joe Biden's definitely the better, like he's best. He's the one we have to vote for if. I'm like, bro, you're not even from here. Shut the fuck up. Like don't tell, bro, I just can't stand that shit. Don't tell me, because there's this, and I don't like to generalize, but I can say pretty confidently in the independent media space, there's this major disconnect from when it comes to race issues, or at least issues that will have an effect on race relations. There's this massive disconnect with the white people versus all of the rest of us. There's a massive disconnect. And then you see black people, they, in a lot of ways, end up becoming forced to capitulate, because if you dare disagree with the white neo-progressive, oh my God, then you're an idiot. You're a moron. You get painted as the angry black man or the angry black woman. If you are not, you see what happened to Tulsi, and Tulsi is an indigenous Polynesian woman. They claim that they want to support in like they claim that they want to support our issues. They speak about our issues and make money off of it. But then what happens? If imagine if Nina would have endorsed Tulsi instead of endorsing Bernie, they would have shredded her. They would have. I mean, look at how I got treated. It went from everybody in the Bernie movement. Oh my God, you're awesome. You're such a great advocate for Bernie, because I was. Like, I knew his policy. I knew the intricacies of his policy. I've worked in healthcare insurance. I've worked on a healthcare policy. Like, so everybody loved me when I was on Team Bernie exclusively. The moment that I went to Tulsi, it's because she's a woman. Because she's cute. Couldn't be because of the foreign policy. Couldn't be because of her healthcare plan. Couldn't be because she was inarguably better than every other candidate. It had to be because she's a woman and she's cute. Had to be that. And it's funny because it'd be the busted, ugly, janky looking the people that would say that to me, I'm looking at them like, bro, are you serious right now? Like, I'm not trying to, I don't like making fun of people's looks. Like, I try not to get into that discussion because, like, I mean, I'm like the cutest person in independent media. That's all I'm saying. Like, Fiorella is up there, like, as a sharp second. But, like, if we just waking up in the morning and Fiorella don't get to do her makeup, it's basically me. Don't tell her I said that, but it's what it is. Nah, but in all seriousness, there'd just be some ugly motherfuckers saying that shit. And it'd just be hilarious. Because I'm like, bro, if you call me an incel, then, like, I'm genuinely worried as to what you might be, because not only are you not getting none, but, like, your hand is running away from your Johnson, like, when you try to masturbate. If you think I'm ugly and I can't get none. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? But to be real, like, Tulsi supporters were kind of the hottest too. Like, we were all just, if you go to her events and, like, the people that were speaking, we were generally all really good looking. Not gonna lie. Glory, thanks for the super chat, homie. What's your opinion on calling out members of indie media to speak for Assange? Curious, because Tim threw a hissy fit for being called out, but you actually took accountability for not mentioning him during the MPP convention. So, I firmly believe in calling them out. Keep calling them out. You've been doing a fantastic job doing that. For those of you who don't know, Glory has been spending her own money on super chats for people that she doesn't like. Asking them to speak out on Assange. She is the reason, I would argue, that Anna had to answer one of her questions, and she just kind of like pushed it off to the side about Assange. And I mean, it gets on Twitter and it gets dragged for it by a bunch of blue checks, and it all started because Gloria asked a question that Anna refused to answer, and then that forced them to then do a segment on Assange. Isn't that funny how that works? This is what I mean, Glory is here all the time, so she knows. But that's what I explain to people about Bernie. Oh man, Bernie, like, we can't be mad at him for not speaking on Assange. Yeah, you can. You can literally do it. If there was ever a time to do it, it's when he's trying to win a race. Like, that's the time to do it. Hold him accountable. Bernie has shown if enough people speak out on a particular issue and he gets wind of it, he'll flip-flop like a motherfucker. He's principled, but he ain't that damn principled. He will stick his finger in the wind and figure out which way to speak on a lot of those issues. And you can never, one of the things that made Tulsi such a brilliant candidate is that if she would be wrong on an issue, somebody would contact her, give her all the facts and information, and a lot of times she would correct herself. This happened whenever Pasta interviewed her about China the first time, about the Hong Kong protests, and then explained how, like, offline, they sent her a bunch of information about the NIH and how the CIA is involved in the Hong Kong protests. And of course, I'm sure it also helped when she saw that all of a sudden Trump was supportive of protests and rioting and looting. But then she went and basically talked about the fact that there are outside influences in Hong Kong, and there's some misconceptions about how those protests came to be. And, that's not how we should be going about influencing foreign policy. That's because one of her most fervent supporters held her accountable. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, nobody ever moves left when they become a president. It happened once. He's no longer here with us. That's JFK. So, but shout out to Glory. Much appreciate all the stuff that you do for the progressive movement that you may not ever get credit for, but we always give you credit over here. Nini B, what's going on? Thank you so much for the super chat. Literally every video on TYT is a Trump poll vid. That's because they don't have anything else to talk about. I already told y'all, there's gonna be a lot of people that get exposed, like from the point that the primary was over to the end of the election. And that's because they don't know how to do legitimate analysis. I mean, there are people out there in the world, in the progressive world, I ain't gonna say their names, but one of them would be Jordan Sheridan, that have actually stolen my analysis. I mean, genuinely stole my analysis verbatim, word for word, because they couldn't have come up with the analysis because I got the analysis from a very, very unique experience from working within politics. So I know they wouldn't know. So all of a sudden, I'm sure you've seen, y'all remember how Nomiki tried to jump on the independent progressive train, right? Oh, let me do the indie media thing because I have so much insider experience. You were on one damn panel for the DNC, and that's it. That was it. Like, you shouldn't have been a journalist to begin with. Like, when she got hired at TYT, it was still kind of like up in the air. People were confused as to why she was hired. She wasn't a journalist. But okay, cool, whatever. But then you see that the neo-progressives are making a lot of money from the Bernie movement. And all you gotta do is kiss Bernie's ass to make money in the Bernie movement. And pretend like you know what you're talking about when you don't. Because that's most of the indie progressives who are kissing Bernie's ass without accountability, without any level of accountability. And then what happened? See, the race is over. And Nomiki falls off the face of the planet. I think she's supposedly running for another office again. But if you're gonna start a show, like, you wouldn't just start a show and then 2 months later decide I'm gonna run for office again. It's like she's trying to figure out how to keep the grift going because she was expecting Bernie to be able to inch out a win against Biden. And if who knows, maybe if he would have fought for election integrity and then of course held out, then maybe he could have won. But at the end of the day, Nomiki wasn't talking about protecting election integrity. She wasn't talking about holding the Democrats accountable. She was on, oh no, Bernie's going to win. Bernie's going to win at the convention. Bernie's going to win at the convention. And then what happened? And then what happened to their grift? All they can talk about is how bad Trump sucks. Which we already know. Like, whenever his taxes drop, bro, I'm like, oh God, breaking news, rich billionaire exploits the tax loopholes that were given to him by both the Democrats and Republicans. Surprise, surprise. Are the Democrats going to do anything about the loopholes that he exploited? Absolutely not. Because they exploit them as well. We're still waiting on Joe Biden's tax returns, aren't we? He said he was going to release the tax returns right after the primary concluded, and he still hasn't released them. Because remember, they said something. They tried to bring up the Bernie's tax returns thing again, and then he was like, "Yeah, I can release them." Is Joe Biden going to commit to releasing his also? He was like, "Yeah, of course." But yeah, basically, they don't have anything. You said Niko being cocky, Niko being his cocky self. I'm not cocky, man. Listen, my mother told me that if you don't love yourself, you don't have confidence in yourself, then no one else will. Especially as a black male, to be frank. And I've been very, very blessed. You know, when it comes to a lot, my grandma always tell me every time I call, she said, why my grandson so handsome? I said, I don't know, Grandma, but we are. But no, you know, it's I work very, very hard and really the whole team does when it comes to our politics and when it comes to what we do it with less resources. We spend a lot more time on our stuff, and we are very, very confident in what we do. I'm not ashamed of that at all. It's not going to change anytime soon. Tulsi and V used to make fun of me all the time. They used to make fun of me so much because of that. They would always call me pretty boy and all kinds of shit. I can't even tell y'all some of the stuff Tulsi said to me, like in the background. It was like Tulsi be talking shit. I'm gonna put it like that. Tulsi is a shit talking. Like she's definitely like an army officer. Like definitely, you could tell she used to be enlisted also because Lord, baby Jesus. Otis B, thank you very much for the super chat. Candace Owens is not ugly and we don't support her. Looks has nothing to do with it. No, Candace Owens is not ugly. Actually, Candace Owens is very pretty. Very, very pretty. She's just an imbecile and a race baiter. That's it. But she uses her looks to win over Republicans. A lot, actually. It's one of the reasons they got her. Same reason they got, Tommy Loren. I don't know if y'all noticed, but the Republicans are not, I guess Republicans, or the GOP, or the conservative, like the TPUSA wing of the right. They're very, very explicit about going after physically attractive women when they're trying to prop someone up. They are very, very explicit about that shit. They have no shame. It's kind of messed up, but it's true. Super chat from Kimber. Did I miss one? Oh, so Gloria's saying it was a super chat from Kimber on Anna's video. My apologies. I thought it was from her. But she started pressing her. She got the clip on and put it on Twitter, and everybody started lighting Anna up. Whatever happened to Joshua, the new progressive voice? Well, he debated me. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but people tend to fall off the face of the planet after they debate me. There's a reason for that. I don't play no goddamn games in this bitch. No, I'm just kidding. No, in all seriousness, he just made a hard right and started fear mongering when it came to Biden. He started fear mongering hard. Hey, really quick, Glory, can you take the link from my other YouTube channel and post it in this the chat section so that people can subscribe to that? Thank you. It's my personal and private YouTube that I created. Not private, excuse me, my personal YouTube. But yeah, so basically people who made that, like if you didn't have a significant following before, and not saying that he have a significant, I think he has like 20,000 subscribers, but like you can't hit that bait and switch like that early on. You have to be somewhat principled. Like Jimmy low-key, Jimmy laid out a blueprint for these white boys and they really just be messing it up. Jimmy showed if you're just consistently principled, you can be wildly successful. Like, especially if you're a white guy. I'm not like, it's not any shade towards them. It's just that people assume when a white male speaks that they are in authority on any given issue. It's just like it's conditioning that we have all gone through as Americans, as Westerners. But they still decide to do the opposite. And Jank wonders why Jimmy himself is much more successful than TYT. Hell, Kim Iverson is more successful than TYT. Like, Kim Iverson herself. If Kim wanted to branch out and create her own network, she could do so and be very, very successful. If Jimmy wanted to do the same, he could do so, be very, very successful. But they want to do this, they think that like long term it'll pay off if they just kiss ass and pretend like the Democrats are somehow better and more altruistic than the Republicans, when that's just clearly not the case. I like that. There's no such thing as a progressive who doesn't speak out against the military-industrial complex. 100%. He said, Niko, I thought you were black though. You thought I wasn't black. I know, according to Tim Black, I'm not black. I don't know what the hell I am then. Somebody needs to let these cops know. He said Niko got roasted by Tulsi. Yeah, she's roasted me a couple times, y'all. She's roasted me a couple times. Don't get me wrong, I be getting her back though. But yeah, she be roasting. Cause what always throws me off is because she does it whenever I'm in super serious political mode. So I'm not like paying it. Like she just is like, oh, well, how'd you like? She said. So I told her, like, oh, you gave a really good speech. Like you've gotten really good at this. And she was like, oh, I know. I was like, what? What do you mean? She's like, well, I know I gave a really good speech because I got Niko to shut the fuck up for 15 minutes straight. Bruh. I was like, what the and it just goes back to the back and just laughs. I'm like, what the See, this is why I don't compliment you. She be roasting, bruh. She be roasting. Her and Brenda Vaughn. Yeah, that's the one thing I miss about the campaign more than anything else. Like hanging out with Tulsi and her fam and hanging out with the Tulsi like team. It was just, we always had a really good time. It was awesome. And it was what was the most unique about it, in my opinion, was just her acceptance in the team's acceptance of any, like if Bernie's people wanted to come hang out with us, yeah, for sure, come hang out. Like they don't care. Like Tulsi was perfectly fine with that. In fact, she would invite them. I don't know if y'all heard, like when she was in New Hampshire and she actually stopped by Bernie Sanders' office just to wish them luck and to talk to them and see how they were doing and how's the race been going for them thus far. Like that's just the type of people, person she is. And of course, that's the type of people she attracted to her campaign. Now, unfortunately, those people are all too rare in this world, especially in this country. And so being principled can garner you a lot of enemies. That's for sure. Kling, where's Kling? Did Kling super chat me? Because if not, I'm not going to be able to find it. Told you with that savage aloha. That's the best way to describe it. The best way to describe it. Aloha that'll break your neck. Are you asking me to get? Oh, Clay said get Kim to talk about herd immunity. I actually think that Kim has talked about herd immunity. Well, so trying to see if I missed anything. During the shutdown, TYT live stream struggled to get like 5,000 views for weeks. When it ended, the numbers quadrupled overnight. Oh, you don't know about that, bruh? Okay, so TYT, YouTube, they have some type of relationship where YouTube dramatically affects their metrics. So if they get ratioed badly, like a bunch of downvotes, overnight it'll be scrubbed. We caught them. Remember when me and Anna Kasparian, for those of you who've been on at the channel for a while, remember me and Anna Kasparian were going through that beef, which led me to fly out to LA and debate her, but then she went ghost for 3 days. She did a video about Tulsi and got just dragged through the comment section, just destroyed, bruh. It was bad. It was really bad. The ratio was shit. Somebody screenshot it. The next morning they reset everything, and then it got ratioed again, and then they reset it again. So clearly, like the reason that TYT is still successful to a certain degree, at least as far as the amount of viewership they get, isn't necessarily because people like them. I mean, their memberships are suffering, and they have been for a while. Like, I think they had like maybe 12 or 13,000 people, like 12 or 13,000 members. And when you think about that, like, bro, y'all have 4 million, almost 5 million, right? 5 million subscribers. How do you only have 13,000 members? That means only 13,000 people consider you to be worth like that their dollar. That's crazy, bro. That's not a good number for all the resources y'all have, for all the money that you spend. Like, that's not a good number. That's all I'm saying. Do I listen to Professor Black Truth? No. Should I listen to him? I don't listen to a lot of people because like I like basing my analysis off of my own information. But if it's somebody that like just does like informational, historic stuff, then yeah, I don't mind listening to him. This is hard to find time to listen to everybody nowadays. Majority Report is boring as shit. I don't know why anybody listens to him. Degrees in Defiance. Next steps for Tulsi. I heard she wants to start a family, which is true. You think she'll run again in Hawaii or for POTUS in 2024? I think she's going to run for governor in Hawaii, to be honest with you. But it depends on how the family situation develops. She also started a PAC to breed more anti-war progressives and to help them run for office. Did TYT sell out for money or did they really shift right? Both of those things. They did both of those things. They sold out for money and they also shifted right. Yeah, I mean, you gotta think about it. If she ran for governor, if Tulsi ran for governor, it would probably be a wash because Hawaii he's either the first or second most unpopular governor in the entire country. And then Tulsi is the most popular politician in Hawaii's history. So, yeah, it wouldn't even be close. I'm sure she knows that. But if she announces it too early, of course, it could be, the Democrats could get involved. And I think that she doesn't want that. I think she wants to kind of blindside them. Did I work for TYT? Why would I have worked for TYT? No. Although Jordan Sheridan asked me to apply back in the day when we were friends, 2016. He asked me to apply for TYT because he wanted me to fall under the TYT Investigates umbrella, which is what or TYT Politics back then. That's what it was called. That was before Emma Vigilant and who else ended up on there? A couple people ended up on there. But basically, before all that stuff happened, he asked me to apply because he really wanted me to work with him because I just do better analysis than most, to be frank. Like, at that time, at least. And he also saw, like, my investigative journalism turned into tangible shit, right? So this is after Donna Brazile admits, or right before, I should say, but it was pretty clear about the Hillary Clinton Victory Fund. For those of you who don't know, I was the person who broke the Hillary Clinton Victory Fund. Obviously, the DNC fraud lawsuit was correct about that. And they admitted that they could rig the election, and they don't care. They don't care if you vote or not. They're going to pick whoever they want to pick. Their lawyers admitted it in court, which was a huge revelation, obviously. And so TYT, however, of course, did not want me because they saw I'm telling you, bro, nothing scares a neo-progressive, like a white neo-progressive, more so than a black person or a minority in general that they can't control and can't really predict. I won't say what campaign, but basically I was picked by a co-chair of the campaign and the national field organizer of the campaign to be the press secretary, the national press secretary. They took all of my ideas, all of them, from the podcasting to having somebody who used to work for Jill Stein to boost their progressive bona fides, all of that stuff. They took all of it and they selected a black woman instead. because they thought, which they were wrong about, that she would be easy to control. And they lied to the person who selected me and said that they had interviewed me, and they had never interviewed me. They reached back out to me once just to confirm that they got my information. After that, they never reached back out to me, and they lied about interviewing me because they loved everything I had to say. They loved everything I represented, but they wanted somebody that they can control. So they took all of my ideas, used it during their campaign, and then hired somebody else. So that just comes with the territory. Nah, Jordan Sheridan doesn't work for TYT anymore. And Tony, nah, man, I appreciate y'all for constantly speaking up for Julian Assange, because now you're starting to finally see, you're starting to see the tide turn a bit. Not as much as it should by any means, but you're really starting to see people talk about Julian Assange more often. And I really can't talk enough about how important. It's like draining. It is very. I admire the people who are constantly covering this trial, and they made this particular issue their specialty, because it's a draining issue. It is an issue that just invokes hopelessness. But Julian Assange himself is really the reason why a lot of us keep hope alive, because he just just the other day in court, they tried to get him to snitch on somebody, basically, and they tried to claim, what was it that they tried to do? They tried to basically claim that the United States, or they didn't want to hear any arguments about the United States being a nation that tortures people, whenever one of the victims up there was tortured by the CIA specifically. And Julian Assange spoke up for that victim, even knowing that it could be, they could hold him in contempt of court. They could do a lot of stuff. He didn't care. So even as he's going through all of this, he is still just being the same Julian. It's just in his blood. So I got a lot of respect for that. Clang, did you ever see the documentary Plandemic? I don't know about you, but it blew my mind. What I don't understand is why Jimmy Dore and company aren't talking. So I did see it, and I actually did a brief video about it on Rockfin, because although I can only talk about what I could verify, and to be frank, a lot of it I could verify, and I guess the biggest question for me was why it was summarily dismissed by people who just, they didn't do it. For example, I would just to see how many, because people, how they are whenever they hear something that makes them uncomfortable. They say they would bring up a point, and I would say, "Oh, well, how do you know that?" Well, it's just, this is what it is. It's just, it's just dumb. It's just stupid. I'm like, yeah, but do you actually know the history of this particular issue? Do you know the facts surrounding it? And 9 times out of 10, they don't. They summarily dismiss stuff because it makes them uncomfortable, and they don't know. They don't want to do the research that it would take to actually articulate the point, because it's a controversial. Some of it is controversial. Other stuff is actually pretty well known. Like some of the stuff we did in Africa with vaccines, that's already well known. It's known around the world, and when it was discussed in the documentary, they acted like that never happened. That's why half of these African nations don't even fuck with the World Health Organization, because they allowed it. So. But I don't think that information like that should be summarily dismissed. When we understand, if you assume, which rightfully so, that Big Pharma was paying off the government to get the rights to an exclusive vaccine, which they did, and they got their money, billions of dollars to do it, right? That happened, as we expected. If you assume that FDA never is working within the best interest of the people of this country, which we all know is true, right? They never work within the best interest of the people of this country. It's about Big Pharma once again. That's true. So then how could you then assume that there is no nefarious intention behind how the pandemic is being handled, or how it's been handled? Nobody's curious as to why we're ignoring the fact that there are a bunch of solutions that have worked. I shouldn't say a bunch of solutions, but a bunch of countries that have utilized solutions that have already been available that work around the world, people around the world. There's not like 2, 3, 4, 5 countries. There's like 60, 70, 80 countries using either interferon alpha 2B or hydroxychloroquine with zinc, and it's working. They're in much better positions than we are. Like, when they're putting Bill Gates on TV to pretend like he's an expert in disease control, like, since when? Once again, people, I have not bought a Windows computer in forever. Do you know why? Because Bill Gates can't even figure out how to fix a goddamn virus on his own software. And that's his expertise. That's what he's been doing forever. So I'm going to trust you to cure a virus? Come on, bro. That's just stupid. That's not even logical. AOC withdrew from Yitzhak Rabin event. Hold up. Isn't Yitzhak Rabin the guy who was about to broker peace between Israel and Palestine, and then he got assassinated, and it blew by far right extremists, and it blew up? If that's true, then buddy, I'm covering that today, because that is crazy. If she withdrew from that event, bruh, that would be wild. That would be wild. If that's who I'm thinking, let me look this up. Yep, that is him. Wow, she withdrew from that event for real? That's for what? Who's throwing the event? Dan Campbell, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I greatly appreciate it. Damn, I can't believe she really... Aaron Matei covered it. That's good. I'm going to go check out his coverage of that. Because, so for those of you who don't know, Yitzhak Rabin, let me just see if I can find a quick little summary about him. So, he was the prime minister of Israel, serving 2 terms in elected office from 1974 to 77, and then 92 until 95, where he was assassinated. He brokered peace between Israel and Palestine. And hold on, let me see if I can find that. And right before the treaty was signed, Rabin was assassinated, which is crazy, right? They always say it's the Palestinians who are the ones that are the violent ones inherently, but once again, some probably white supremacist Zionists assassinated their prime minister because they did credit it with the right-wing extremists. But the reason why is because of what? There's a reason that the Palestinian country is not allowed to have a seat at the table at the United Nations. There's a reason they're not allowed to have a government. There's a reason they're not allowed to have a functioning military, like an official military, because we don't want them to be sovereign, because the moment they become sovereign, then you can get allies, like legitimate allies. Once you get legitimate allies, then you become a threat, and we can't necessarily maintain a stranglehold over the environment, over that region, excuse me. And so Rabin was one of the very few great Israeli prime ministers. And if he would have been allowed to serve out his term and sign that treaty, which they of course ended up not signing, life in the Middle East would be much different than it is today. Big baby Zubas. The CIA infiltrated I'm guessing that's Microsoft, Google, etc. to put in back doors and stuff. Why? They let CIA hack anyone, anytime. That's why Julian Assange is in jail, because of Vault 7. Yeah, Vault 7 was crazy. Vault 7 was crazy. I covered Vault 7 back in the day. 2017, I think, was when it dropped. But yeah, I mean, that's why you notice the only time that the establishment joins forces, the only time that they agree on anything is whenever it's time to screw the people, right? Of course, they both agree on detaining and extraditing Julian Assange and torturing him. Of course they do. He exposed both of them. He exposed exactly what a lot of us already knew. The Democrats and Republicans are not really all that different when it comes to most issues. They're both equally as evil. That's what he exposed. And they don't like that shit. So, I think it's about time to wrap up, people. We've been going for about what? How long have we been going? I don't know. Let me see. Hour and 36 minutes. Hot damn Bojangles. So yeah, we've been going for an hour and 36 minutes, people. It's about that time. It's about that time. I gotta do some other videos for y'all. But make sure y'all go subscribe to my other YouTube channel. I think Glory posted a link in the chat, but Glory will post another one right now if she is still here. But go subscribe to my other YouTube channel. It's just my personal channel where I upload. I'll be uploading more videos. I'm still going to be posting the important videos on this channel. But because I know that sometimes you don't get the notifications from this channel, and I know that this channel is being suppressed, I post videos on the other channel as well. Also, I will be covering the debate tomorrow. I will be covering it on Rockfin. You know we can't cover it, unfortunately, on YouTube because YouTube will literally just not only demonetize us, but take away our live stream capability, hit us with a copyright strike, all that shit, because they've done it multiple times before. So I had to do it on Rockfin. You know, we're going to be having a great time. We're going to laugh it up. I'm going to be debunking both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And I'm sure that tomorrow will be a great opportunity to see how much they are exactly alike in most ways. But to be honest, I'm kind of excited to laugh a lot of Donald Trump roasting Joe Biden. Let's be honest. Joe Biden being on the debate stage for what? It's going to be 2 hours probably? Probably going to be about 2 hours. Oh, the cat. Okay, let me bring the one who's been crying at the damn door. Did y'all see Arnu already? Y'all saw Arnu. I think y'all seen Arnu. And no, I didn't see Arnu. I think I brought Luna and Nala. I don't think I brought Arnu. Let me go get him. Give me 1 second. So this is Asher. He just got done. He's been sleeping this whole time. This is my oldest. This is the oldest out of all the animals, including the dog. He was the first one that I rescued. He is the most talkative ass animal you will ever see. You want to say hi, Asher? Say hi, buddy. He literally will argue with you if you tell him not to do something. Isn't that right? If I dare to go into the bathroom, if I dare to go into the bathroom and not invite him in, there's a better angle for you. If I dare to go to the bathroom and not invite him in, he will scream and try to jump on the handle. And he can actually open doors. He opens doors all the time. If I'm gone for the day and he gets hungry, he will go into the cabinet and get his own food out. He don't care. The only reason he don't go into the cabinet when I'm here is because he's trying to be courteous. He's like, I guess I'll let you choose when to feed me, but if I feel hungry and you're not acquiescing to my hunger, then I'm just gonna get it myself. But he's my baby boy. He's the oldest. He's the one who, like, him and King. King I'll bring next time. King is a monstrosity. He's fucking massive. If you don't have a cat, yes, he is Siamese. He is Siamese. So he knows his name. You know, there's a belief amongst cat people that Siamese are the smartest. And they probably are. He knows his name, man. What? Who are you arguing with? You the one who said you want to come out here. Don't be trying to. He got his hair on you. Okay. So, what do you think? Anyway, he's definitely the smartest. If I'm like, let me see if he'll come. Asher, come here. What? He just really looked at me and just like, nah, I'm gonna clean myself instead. He's also the rudest. He's also him and Bebe. Bebe, I don't think I brought on Bebe. I'll bring on Bebe next week. Bebe she's a diva. She's a diva for real. Asher, come here. Come here. Y'all hear what I tell you? What I tell you? Man will literally, he will acknowledge me, stare at me, and then say no and go back to doing what he's doing. I don't know why I have 6 of these motherfuckers. They kind of just, except for King. King is like my orange tabby. If you've ever had an orange tabby, you know orange tabbies are crazy needy. They act like just big old babies. Asher, come here. Asher, come here. Come here. Really? Come here. Come here. Man, I know one thing. He said one more thing to me, I'm gonna punch him. I'm about to take him to the Chinese lady place down the street. I'm telling you, bro. That's the only threat Asher will listen to. I'm gonna take you to the Chinese restaurant down the street, and then he'll Calicos are mean. Luna, so the one who looks like the baby but is actually the mom of 2 of the cats. She's mean to most people. She's not mean to me because she's a daddy's girl. She love her some daddy. I have 6 cats, right? 6 cats. I have 6 cats and 1 dog who thinks he's a cat a lot of the time. I'm gonna see if I can get Luna. I'm gonna see if Luna will let me pick her up. Come on, Asher. Get in. You wanna come, buddy? Okay. You can come. So Luna don't want to come. Arnie wants to come. This is the one that was chirping at the camera earlier. This is Arnu. This is the one I rescued on Cinco de Mayo. If you have a Super Progressive shirt, he's the cat he's the mascot for Super Progressives. What's up, buddy? He's the one who chirps. Like that ass. He just be chirping. He kind of like, and that's like the better version of what he used to do. Like, he had to learn from the other cats how to correctly meow, but he still hasn't really gotten it. Now, when he gets like really, really needy, he'll get it right. But, what you doing? This is the one I rescued on Cinco de Mayo when he was drowning in a puddle. Like, so Miami, you know, it's Miami, so we're below sea level, and it was like a hurricane that damn night. And I hear this like squeaking. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I see like a little paddling. I thought like a little bird or something. And it was him. So I rescued him. And he immediately just walked around like he not owned the place, but he was like, oh, all you cats are my best friends now. And they didn't want to play with them at first. You know how cats are. They're like, what the fuck? Why are you here? And so after that, like they warmed up to him because he's the most playful one. And like he's been comfortable around them since he was a kitten, even though they all had to warm up to him. But now they all pretty much get along, except for him and Asher. Asher is, because he's the firstborn and he was an only child. He was only an only child for literally less than 24 hours because then I got my dog. But in his mind, I shouldn't be giving anyone else attention other than him. So actually a little jealous ass, but the best people in the world all love pets. You're wrong. Take them to the Chinese restaurant. I mean, shit. It's the only thing they understand. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. You know what's so bad? So if you have a cat, especially if your cat's smart, you know what would really piss you off? They'll tell you. This other cat owners will tell you this. So my cat's really smart, right? All of them are pretty smart. This King is a little slow, but he's smart enough. He knows when he's doing something wrong. So whenever you catch a cat doing something wrong and you walk into the room and you catch them doing it wrong, they look at you and then they like stop doing whatever they're doing and then they run away because they know it was wrong. But then they play stupid like they don't know what they're doing. They play stupid a lot. Cats are the masters at, if you have never been a cat owner before, your cat's probably smarter than you think they are, but they were so good at pretending that they're stupid that you believe that they just didn't know no better, which is not the case. I've walked in, I caught my cat scratching my couch, right? They know they're not supposed to do it. They know they're not supposed to. They've all gotten their butt whooped at some point for scratching the couch. I catch him, I walk in, and who was it, Arnu? I think it was Arnu. Arnu tried to run away, right? But his nail got stuck in the couch. The man looked like a deer caught in the headlights because he had never been in a situation before. He's like, oh my God. He like trying to run because he sees me walking up to him. I'm like, oh, why are you running? Is it because you know you weren't supposed to be doing that? Because if you didn't know any better, you wouldn't feel the need to run, would you? It's a damn shame the cats be running my house. You got 10 scratching posts, Tooper? I have 1 scratching post, and then my cats sometimes think my couch is a scratching post. It's kind of weird how people think that cats are like loners, though. Like, they're very, very communal species. They like being around each other. They also like, look, I have a queen size bed, and of course, whenever we lay down, I can't ever use my bed the way I'm supposed to because they want to be like right here. They want to be all up on, like Asher likes to sleep on my fucking face. Okay, Bebe wants to sleep on my pillow beside. So if I turn around and I accidentally hit Bebe, she gets mad at me like it's not my pillow in my bed, and they have their own beds. Asher actually, if he's not sleeping on my pillow, he goes down and he sleeps in my dog's big ass bed, and then like a lot of the time I have to tell him to scoot over because Kane will try to lay down. And Asher's like laying in the bed like it's his bed because him and Kane were raised around each other. So everything that Kane gets, he just would use. But yeah, when you get a significant other, Asher and Kane are fighting. When you get a significant other, if they don't like cats or animals in general, they're probably like secretly evil people. So just saying, just be wary of that. With that being said, people, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream. AMA, you know, we'll be back on Monday, next Monday, I should say. But tomorrow, once again, we will be doing our live stream coverage of the debate. And I will post the link real quick. It'll be on rockfin.kizom/MCSC. Oh, no, excuse me. /Niko. rockfin.com/Niko. Super easy. And meet me there at 9. We're going to be talking shit, calling people out, all that good stuff. All right. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, always remember more than anything else, find your balance.